Hello everyone, welcome to Diplomatic Briefing. Although the China-US trade war is on a temporary truce, competition between the two major economies will remain intense in the future. In response to Trump's unpredictable tariffs, China has begun to diversify its import sources. On June 26, Reuters cited four trade sources as saying that several Chinese feed manufacturers have jointly signed an agreement to purchase 30,000 tons of Argentine soybean meal in July. It is understood that this is the first order since China and Argentina signed an agreement in 2019 allowing Argentine soybean meal to be imported into China. Sources revealed that the total price for this batch of soybean meal, including shipping, is $360 per ton, and it is expected to arrive in Guangdong, China, in September. A trader from an international trading company that sells soybeans to China, based in Singapore, said that this order is just a trial run. If it can pass China's inspection and quarantine, they expect there will be more deals to follow. Soybean meal is the byproduct left after extracting oil from soybeans. It is an excellent source of protein and is widely used in the feed and food industries. China is the world's largest consumer of soybean meal, while Argentina is the world's largest exporter of soybean oil and soybean meal. However, China does not mainly rely on direct imports of soybean meal. Most of it comes from further processing of imported soybeans, and these soybeans are primarily sourced from Brazil and the United States. According to data from the General Administration of Customs, China's total soybean meal imports in 2024 amounted to about 30,000 tons, with the main source being Denmark. Previously, there was no record of large-scale soybean meal purchases from Argentina. Bloomberg pointed out that amid the ongoing China-US trade dispute, China's rare purchase of soybean meal from Argentina will help secure the supply of this key animal feed ingredient. These traders said that this is an effort by China to address the risk of a prolonged trade dispute. The reason these orders were able to go through is also because the price of Argentine soybean meal is lower compared to domestically produced soybean meal in China. In recent years, especially after former U.S. President Trump initiated a trade dispute with China during his last term, China has continued to promote diversification of agricultural imports. Currently, Brazil has replaced the United States as China's largest soybean supplier. Data shows that from 2016 to 2024, the U.S. share of China's soybean import market dropped sharply from 40% to 18%. On the other hand, in terms of volume, China is still the largest export destination for U.S. soybeans. However, after Trump returned to office and announced the so-called reciprocal tariff policy, many Chinese buyers shifted even further. Bloomberg reported on April 10 that during that week, Chinese soybean crushing companies made massive purchases of Brazilian soybeans, with the scale and speed of the buying spree being unusually high. An informed source revealed at the time that in just the first half of that week, Chinese importers bought at least 40 cargoes of soybeans from Brazil, totaling at least 2.4 million tons, almost one-third of China's average monthly soybean crushing volume. In addition, data from the General Administration of Customs shows that in May 2005, Brazil exported 12.11 million tons of soybeans to China, a year-on-year increase of 37.5%, making it the largest purchase since 2005. According to a previous report from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, as of March 27, nearly 600,000 tons of U.S. soybeans that have already been sold for the sales year ending this August have not yet been shipped. It is still unclear whether these shipments will be delivered or directly canceled. Ligrand, the president of the American Soybean Association, who has voted for Trump 3 times, recently urged Trump to reach a trade agreement with China as soon as possible to prevent American soybean farmers from suffering. In an article he wrote for the media, he stated bluntly that the scars left by the last trade war have not yet healed, and a new round of trade disputes with China would cause American soybean exports to lose even more overseas market share, leading American farmers to go bankrupt before 2027. As early as Trump's first presidential term, American farmers had already suffered greatly in the trade war. From 2018 to 2019, U.S. agricultural exports lost more than $27 billion, of which $25.7 billion was directly related to the retaliatory tariffs imposed by China. And of the total $27 billion in losses, soybean farmers accounted for more than 70%. To appease American farmers, Trump at the time had no choice but to roll out a $28 billion relief plan. However, according to a report by the New York Times, the main beneficiaries of this subsidy were large farms and farmers in the South, which sparked widespread controversy over fairness. Some farmers even felt that they had been deceived. As for all the tariff revenue collected during that trade war, almost all of it was ultimately used to bail out the agricultural sector. This May, after China and the U.S. held economic and trade talks in Geneva, Switzerland, they issued a joint statement announcing that both sides would significantly reduce bilateral tariff levels. However, it's worth noting that since the U.S. did not remove the tariffs imposed on China over fentanyl, China also did not lift its retaliatory tariffs related to fentanyl, which include additional tariffs on soybeans and other agricultural products. To sum up simply, first, American politicians have only themselves to blame for hurting their own farmers. Second, countries like Japan once advised Trump that they would buy more American agricultural products in exchange for the U.S. reducing or waiving tariffs. The problem is, the demand from these countries can't even begin to compare with China's. The U.S. is still trying to go up against China, a major resource consumer. Has Trump and other politicians really done the math on how much this will hurt America's resource industries? Third, given Trump's unpredictability, the safest approach for China is to diversify its imports. This also shows that China is prepared and may be ready to face a scenario of further decoupling from the United States. Fourth, although Argentina's President Milei used a lot of anti-China rhetoric during his campaign, after taking office he has shown his pragmatism. He is not a bookworm obsessed with ideology, nor is he a puppet who only listens to the United States. On the contrary, he is learning from Brazil and China, taking a more pragmatic, business-oriented approach in dealings. Some developing countries, upon witnessing China's progress, can't help but be amazed and deeply impressed as long as they look at it rationally. These experiences will gradually accumulate and become part of China's soft power. Recently, Indian netizens, who have always been reluctant to acknowledge China's progress, sparked heated discussions after a local's experience in China went viral. On June 24, Akash Bansal, co-founder of Indian photography equipment manufacturer Skyfire, shared his high-speed rail journey in China on the X platform, which triggered a lively debate among Indian netizens on social media. The post received over 10,000 likes. In his post, Bansal shared photos of China's high-speed trains and the interior of the carriages, with one picture showing the train traveling at a speed of 247 kilometers per hour. He also wrote, "I traveled 1,600 kilometers in a single day just to attend a 3-hour meeting, and ended up lying down not long after." This shows just how incredibly convenient life in China really is. He said, "I took the high-speed train in the morning, traveling 800 kilometers one way, and after the meeting, I was able to return home that same night and sleep in my own bed." He then shared photos of the spacious and tidy high-speed rail stations. High-speed rail stations are all very large. You only need to enter the platform 10 minutes before departure, and the ticket gates on both the east and west sides will open at the same time. You just need to scan your ID card or passport, and the gate will open automatically. If you arrive early, you can even change your ticket to another train. Bansal seemed unable to hold back his urge to share, and in his next post, he added more of his observations. The seats in the station can accommodate tens of thousands of people, and about 30% of them are massage chairs. You only need to spend about 100 rupees to enjoy a massage while waiting for your train. Everything is well organized, and there's nothing chaotic at all. Once, he arrived at the station half an hour early, and a security guard came over to check his ticket, then proactively led him to the service counter, where they helped him change his ticket to a train departing in 10 minutes. He said, "I didn't say a single word, it was all initiated by him. He could have just ignored me completely." After hearing Bansal's account, many Indian netizens who had lived in China strongly agreed. One netizen said the price is really a bargain. "I took the high-speed train from Shanghai to Suzhou, 130 kilometers in 25 minutes, and the fare was about 45 yuan, which is 500 Indian rupees. Another netizen said, "I've been to that place and I completely agree with everything you said. Unfortunately, you'll never see this kind of scene in India, because we like to just talk and have never understood what a high-quality life really means." Another netizen said it was a great experience and deserves a thumbs up. "But for various reasons, we in India won't do things this way. The main reason is jealousy. Netizens say we have no way to develop like China, but still use the excuse that we are a democracy. This is just a cowardly justification. India has also completed many railway projects in the past 10 years, but which one is truly worth boasting about like China's?" Of course, there are also Indian netizens who criticize China's infrastructure by bringing up issues like human rights and debt. Some people also vent their dissatisfaction on Bansal, saying that people like him are just fake entrepreneurs in India. You import products from abroad by the kilogram, then stick your own label on them and sell them. Your brand hasn't provided any real job opportunities for Indians at all, you're just making huge profits off these Chinese goods. In fact, China's high-speed rail achievements have long been a focus of attention, not just recently. Musk, who once headed the U.S. Office of Efficiency, criticized American rail transport services back in March. He said that countries like China have much better passenger railways than the U.S., which is embarrassing and even a source of sadness for Americans. At an investment conference, Musk also shared his own experiences riding high-speed passenger trains abroad. He said that if you've ever been to China, you'll experience an epic high-speed rail journey. It's truly amazing. The conclusion is that Western-style democracy isn't a universal solution. Instead of criticizing China, it's better to acknowledge China's progress.